on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the ayes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 2, printed in House Report number 112-518, offered by Mr. Broun of Georgia.
Recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the recorded vote will rise and remain standing. A sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
So a series of 2-minute votes now on amendments to legislative branch appropriations. This is an amendment brought by Congressman Paul Broun of Georgia, cutting funding for the Congressional Research Service by nearly $900,000. This is the second of 8 votes.
Yeas are 214, the nays are 189. The amendment is adopted. The unfinished business is a request for recorded vote on amendment number 4, printed House Report 112-518, offered by the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise, upon which further proceedings were postponed, on which the noes prevailed by voice vote, the clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 4, printed in House Report number 112-518, offered by Mr. Scalise of Louisiana.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in favor of a recorded vote will rise and remain standing. Sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
Legislative branch amendment voting continuing with votes on the Scalise Amendment, cutting $1 million in funding to the Open World Leadership Center. It's an exchange program that brings students from Eurasian countries to the U.S. for exposure to leaders in government, business, and industry.
On this vote, the yeas are 204, the nays are 203. The amendment is adopted. The unfinished business is a request for a recorded vote on Amendment number 5, offered in printed House Report 112-518, offered by the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Moran, upon which the yeas prevail by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 5, printed in House Report number 112-518, offered by Mr. Moran of Virginia.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. The members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
The fourth vote in the House is an amendment that would ban the use of styrofoam products in food service facilities in the House. At the end of the business today, the House will begin a week-long district work period. They'll be back on Monday, June 18th. The Senate is out today. They're back on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. They'll work on the Farm Bill and a judicial nomination with votes in the afternoon. You can see the Senate live on C-SPAN 2.
yeas are 178, the nays are 229. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on amendment number 7, printed in House Report 112-518, offered by the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Flake, upon which the ayes prevailed. By voice vote, the clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 7, printed in House Report number 112-518, offered by Mr. Flake of Arizona.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those who support a request for a recorded vote will rise and remain standing. A sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
The Flake Amendment would prohibit spending to purchase paid online advertisements to members, committees, and leadership offices. This is a 2-minute vote. After this will be a debate on a procedural motion, 10 minutes of debate on that, and then a vote. It'll be a 15-minute vote, and during that time, we plan to show you President Obama's remarks today on the economy. This after more negative numbers came in on the economy. The government reporting this morning that the nation's trade deficit shrank in April. The trade gap narrowed by 4.9% to just over $50 billion. President Obama spoke for about 30 minutes on that, took a few questions. We will show you that during the motion to recommit vote.
Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn votes no. Mr. Bishop of Georgia. Mr. Bishop of Georgia votes no. Mr. Hastings of Florida. Mr. Hastings of Florida votes no. Mr. Costa. Mr. Costa votes no.
On this vote, the yeas are 148, the nays are 261. The amendment is not adopted. There being no further amendments, under the rule, the committee rises. Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union has had under consideration H.R. 5882 and pursuant to House Resolution 677. I report the bill back to the House with sundry amendments adopted by the Committee of the Whole.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration the bill H.R. 5882 and pursuant to House Resolution 667 reports the bill back to the House with sundry amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. Is a separate vote demanded on any amendment reported from the Committee of the Whole? If not, the Chair will put them engrossed. The question is on the adoption of the amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question is on endorsement and third reading of the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill making appropriations for the legislative branch for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2013, and for other purposes.
The House will be in order. Members will take their seats. Members will clear the aisles. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Maine rise?
I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentlewoman opposed to the bill?
I am opposed.
The gentlewoman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. Pingree of Maine moves to recommit the bill H.R. 5882 to the Committee on Appropriations with instructions
to dispense with the reading.
Is there objection? Objection. The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, every day my colleagues on the other side of the aisle talk about cutting spending. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The House will be in order.
Madam Speaker, every day my colleagues on the other side of the aisle talk about cutting spending. In fact, a fair number of them came here by getting elected promising to slash wasteful spending and being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. And they have voted for some pretty big spending cuts. They cut spending on food stamps, making it harder for struggling families to put a meal on the table. They cut spending on unemployment benefits, making it harder for the millions of Americans who are looking for work to make ends meet. They cut spending on Pell Grants, making it harder for working families to put their kids through college. But the problem is, these cuts my colleagues have passed put the entire burden on working families and seniors who are already struggling to get by, and none of it on big oil companies or wealthy money managers. The problem is the burden of spending cuts is not now being shared equally or distributed fairly. Today, Madam Speaker, I'm offering my colleagues a chance to share that burden by cutting our own spending on fancy taxpayer-funded mailings that our constituents don't always want us to spend. The amendment I'm offering represents a 10% cut in our franking budget. This would mean giving up expensive, glossy, self-promoting mailings and getting back to straight talk to our constituents. Don't get me wrong. Part of our communicating is with our constituents. That is our job. And letting them know about the work we are doing here in Washington and in our home districts. In my office,
suspend. The House is not in order.
In my office,
just a moment. The House is not in order. The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In my office, we've designated simple, straightforward mailings in-house to communicate directly with our constituents. We've designed them in-house. We've been able to cut the cost of communication dramatically, but still effectively communicate. In fact, we've recently sent an update to veterans explaining programs available to them, and 2 or 3 constituents have received their lifetime benefits because of that update. Asking working families to sacrifice and bear the burden of spending cuts while protecting big banks, big oil, and congressional perks is one of the reasons our approval rating is at an all-time low. Madam Speaker, we all agree we need to get budget deficits under control. But asking seniors, young people, and working families to feel the pain while passing tax cuts for the rich, protecting big tax breaks for big oil, and spending millions of dollars on glossy, self-promoting mailers is unfair, and Americans know it. If we want the American public to think we can be responsible and serious about cutting wasteful spending, we'll pass the amendment today and take a big chunk out of our franking budget. Let me be clear. This is the final amendment to the bill. It will not kill the bill or send it back to committee. If adopted, the bill will immediately proceed to final passage as amended. And if adopted, the American people might have a little more faith that the money they send to Congress are really serious about cutting wasteful spending and not just protecting the perks they think will get them reelected. I urge you to vote yes on my final amendment. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlelady yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida rise?
To speak in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I want to urge my colleagues to vote no on this motion to recommit and vote for this very good bill. Now, I'm not surprised that the Democrats don't like this bill. This funding bill spends less money than last year. And last year's bill spent less than the year before. So for 3 straight years, we've reduced spending in the legislative branch. We've reduced spending on ourselves. So don't tell us we haven't shared in the pain. We are doing in this bill what we ask every agency of state government to do. We are doing in this bill what every American family does. We are setting priorities. We are tightening our belt. We are reining in spending. We are doing more with less. No wonder they don't like it. So I say, let's pass this bill, reject this motion to recommit, and cast a vote for fiscal responsibility by voting yes. I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion to recommit. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The noes have it. A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote. Pursuant to Clause 8 and Clause 9 of the Rule 20, the 15-minute vote on the motion to recommit will be followed by 5-minute votes on passage of the bill and the motion to instruct conferees on H.R. 4348. This is a 15-minute vote.
This is a procedural vote. A motion to recommit is a last-chance effort to change a bill before final passage. It rarely succeeds, and it's usually followed by a vote on final passage. This motion would cut by 10% the official franked mail component of the members' representational allowance. Members working on legislative branch appropriations after they've finished votes on amendments to that bill. This is a 15-minute vote, as you heard. As this vote is underway, we'll go back to earlier today where President Obama gave a statement on the economy and jobs this morning. More negative numbers came in on the economy. The President spoke about it for about 30 minutes.
Good morning. I just want to say a few words about the economy, and then I will take some of your questions. Today we're fighting back from the deepest economic crisis since the Great Depression. After losing jobs for 25 months in a row, our businesses have now created jobs for 27 months in a row, 4.3 million new jobs in all. The fact is, job growth in this recovery has been stronger than in the one following the last recession a decade ago. But the hole we have to fill is much deeper, and the global aftershocks are much greater. And that's why we've got to keep on pressing with actions that further strengthen the economy. Right now, one concern is Europe, which faces a threat of renewed recession as countries deal with a financial crisis. Obviously, this matters to us because Europe is our largest economic trading partner. If there's less demand for our products in places like Paris or Madrid, it could mean less businesses or less business for manufacturers in places like Pittsburgh or Milwaukee. Now, the good news is there is a path out of this challenge. These decisions are fundamentally in the hands of Europe's leaders, and fortunately they understand the seriousness of the situation and the urgent need to act. I've been in frequent contact with them over the past several weeks, and we know that there are specific steps they can take right now to prevent the situation there from getting worse. In the short term, they've got to stabilize their financial system, and part of that is taking clear action as soon as possible to inject capital into weak banks. Just as important, leaders can lay out a framework and a vision for a stronger Eurozone, including deeper collaboration on budgets and banking policy. Getting there is going to take some time, but showing the political commitment to share the benefits and responsibilities of an integrated Europe will be a strong step. With respect to Greece, which has important elections next weekend, we've said that it is in everybody's interest for Greece to remain in the Eurozone while respecting its commitments to reform. We recognize the sacrifices that the Greek people have made, and European leaders understand the need to provide support if the Greek people choose to remain in the Eurozone. But the Greek people also need to recognize that their hardships will likely be worse if they choose to exit from the Eurozone. Over the longer term, even as European countries with large debt burdens carry out necessary fiscal reforms, they've also got to promote economic growth and job creation. As some countries have discovered, it's a lot harder to rein in deficits and debt if your economy isn't growing. So it's a positive thing that the conversation has moved in that direction, and leaders like Angela Merkel and François Hollande are working to put in place a growth agenda alongside responsible fiscal plans. The bottom line is the solutions to these problems are hard, but there are solutions. The decisions required are tough, but Europe has the capacity to make them, and they have America's support. Their success is good for us, and the sooner that they act, and the more decisive and concrete their actions, the sooner people and markets will regain some confidence, and the cheaper the costs of cleanup will be down the road. In the meantime, given the signs of weakness in the world economy, not just in Europe but also some softening in Asia, it's critical that we take the actions we can to strengthen the American economy right now. Last September, I sent Congress a detailed jobs plan full of the kind of bipartisan ideas that would have put more Americans back to work. It had broad support from the American people. It was fully paid for. If Congress had passed it in full, we'd be on track to have 1 million more Americans working this year. The unemployment rate would be lower. Our economy would be stronger. Of course, Congress refused to pass this jobs plan in full. They did act on a few parts of the bill, most significantly the payroll tax cut that's putting more money in every working person's paycheck right now, and I appreciate them taking that action. But they left most of the jobs plan just sitting there. And in light of the headwinds that we're facing right now, I urge them to reconsider, because there are steps we can take right now to put more people back to work. They're not just my ideas. They're not just Democratic ideas. They're ideas that independent, nonpartisan economists believe would make a real difference in our economy. Keep in mind that the private sector has been hiring at a solid pace over the last 27 months. But one of the biggest weaknesses has been state and local governments, which have laid off 450,000 Americans. These are teachers and cops and firefighters. Congress should pass a bill putting them back to work right now, giving help to the states so that those layoffs are not occurring. In addition, since the housing bubble burst, we've got more than 1 million construction workers out of work. There's nothing fiscally responsible about waiting to fix your roof until it caves in. We've got a lot of deferred maintenance in this country. We could be putting a lot of people back to work, rebuilding our roads, our bridges, some of our schools, There's work to be done. There are workers to do it. Let's put them back to work right now. The housing market is stabilizing and beginning to come back in many parts of the country, but there are still millions of responsible homeowners who've done everything right but still struggle to make ends meet. So, as I talked about just a few weeks ago, let's pass a bill that gives them a chance to save an average of $3,000 a year by refinancing their mortgage and taking advantage of these historically low rates. That's something we can do right now. It would make a difference. Instead of just talking a good game about job creators, Congress should give the small business owners that actually create most of the new jobs in America a tax break for hiring more workers. These are ideas that, again, have gotten strong validation from independent, nonpartisan economists. It would make a difference in our economy, and there's no excuse for not passing these ideas. We know they can work. Now, if Congress decides, despite all that, that they aren't going to do anything about this simply because it's an election year, then they should explain to the American people why. There's going to be plenty of time to debate our respective plans for the future. That's a debate I'm eager to have. But right now, people in this town should be focused on doing everything we can to keep our recovery going and keeping our country strong. And that requires some action on the part of Congress. So I would urge them to take another look at some of the ideas that have already been put forward. And with that, I'm going to take a couple of questions, and I'm going to start with Karen Bowen, who is with Reuters, but as we all know, is about to go get a fancy job with the National Journal, and we're very proud of her. So congratulations to you, Karen. You get the first crack at it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Could you tell the American people what role the United States is playing in the European debt crisis? And also, do you think European leaders have a handle on what's needed to stem the crisis? And finally, you talked about a number of ideas that you've already put forth to shield the American economy. Do you plan to give a speech or lay out additional ideas now that the crisis is really escalating?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the situation in Europe is not simply a debt crisis. You've got some countries like Greece that genuinely have spent more than they're bringing in, and they've got problems. There are other countries that actually were running a surplus and had fairly responsible fiscal policies, but had weaknesses similar to what happened here with respect to their housing market or their real estate markets, and that has weakened their financial system. So there are a bunch of different issues going on in Europe. It's not simply a debt crisis. What is true is that the markets, getting nervous, have started making it much more expensive for them to borrow, and that then gets them on a downward spiral. We have been in constant contact with Europe over the last, European leaders over the last 2 years. And you know, we have consulted with them both at the head of government and head of state level. I frequently speak to the leaders not only at formal settings like the G8, but also on the telephone or via video conference, and our economic teams have gone over there to consult. As I said in my opening remarks, the challenges they face are solvable. Right now, their focus has to be on strengthening their overall banking system, much in the same way that we did back in 2009 and 2010, making a series of decisive actions that give people confidence that the banking system is solid, that capital requirements are being met, that various stresses that may be out there can be absorbed by the system. And I think that European leaders are in discussions about that, and they're moving in the right direction. In addition, they're going to have to look at how do they achieve growth at the same time as they're carrying out structural reforms that may take 2 or 3 or 5 years to fully accomplish. So countries like Spain and Italy, for example, have embarked on some smart structural reforms that everybody thinks are necessary, everything from tax collection to labor markets to a whole host of different issues. But they've got to have the time and the space for those steps to succeed. And if they are just cutting and cutting and cutting, and their unemployment rate is going up and up and up, and people are pulling back further from spending money because they're feeling a lot of pressure, ironically, that can actually make it harder for them to carry out some of these reforms over the long term. So I think there's discussion now about, in addition to sensible ways to deal with debt and government finances, there's a parallel discussion that's taking place among European leaders to figure out how do we also encourage growth and show some flexibility to allow some of these reforms to really take root. Now, keep in mind that this obviously can have a potential impact on us because Europe's our largest trading partner. The good news is that a lot of the work we did back in 2009 and 2010 have put our financial system on a much more solid footing. Our insistence of increasing capital requirements for banks means that they can absorb some of the shocks that might come from across the Atlantic. Folks in the financial sector have been monitoring this carefully and I think are prepared for a range of contingencies. But even if we weren't directly hit in the sense that our financial system still stayed solid, if Europe goes into a recession, that means we're selling fewer goods, fewer services, and that is going to have some impact on the pace of our recovery. So we want to do everything we can to make sure that we are supportive of what European leaders are talking about. Ultimately, it is a decision that they've got to make in terms of how they move forward towards more integration, how they move forward in terms of accommodating the needs for both reform and growth. And the most important thing I think we can do is make sure that we continue to have a strong, robust recovery. So the steps that I've outlined are the ones that are needed. We've got a couple of sectors in our economy that are still weak. Overall, the private sector has been doing a good job creating jobs. We've seen record profits in the corporate sector. The big challenge we have in our economy right now is state and local government hiring has been going in the wrong direction. You've seen teacher layoffs, police officers, cops, firefighters being laid off. And the other sector that's still weak has been the construction industry. Those two areas we've directly addressed with our jobs plan. The problem is that it requires Congress to take action, and we're going to keep pushing them to see if they can move in that direction. Okay. Jackie Combs. Where'd Jackie go? There she is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask you about what a couple other people have said about Europe. And one is that I'd like to know if you agree with former President Bill Clinton, who said in the past week that the Europeans' policies that you've described here today are much like those of the Republicans in this country, politics of austerity that would, take us in the same direction as Europe, if you agree with that. The Republicans, for their part, have said that you're simply blaming the Europeans for problems that have been caused by your own policies. So I'd like you to respond to both of those, and also tell us precisely how much time you personally spend.
The yeas are 101, the nays are 309. The motion is not adopted. The question is on passage of the bill. Under Clause 10 of Rule 20, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic vote. This is a 5-minute vote.
Well, we showed you a portion of what the President had to say earlier today. You can see his remarks in their entirety on our website at cspan.org. Also, House Speaker John Boehner has scheduled a response to the President's remarks. That is set for 12:30 Eastern. C-SPAN 2 will carry that live, and we will also have their comments at the conclusion of business in the House today. Well, a 5-minute vote now on final passage of legislative branch appropriations, providing $3.3 billion for operations of the House, joint House-Senate items, the Library of Congress, Capitol Police, the Government Accounting Office, and the Government Printing Office. And that $3.3 billion total is 1% less than current funding and about 5% less than requested. This is a 5-minute vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 307 and the nays are 102. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The unfinished business is the vote on the motion to instruct on H.R. 4348, offered by the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Brown, on which the yeas and nays were ordered. The clerk will redesignate the motion.
Motion to instruct conferees on H.R. 4348, offered by Mr. Brown of Georgia.
The question is on the motion to instruct. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
Well, the last vote for the week in the House is a motion to instruct conferees on the transportation bill. This was debated earlier this week. It instructs committee conferees to insist on provisions that would limit funding for federal highway and mass transit programs to the point of zeroing out any new funding for those programs in 2013. We are expecting a number of special order speeches this afternoon. At the end of business today, the House will start a week-long district work period. They will be back on Monday, June 18th. The Senate, not in session today. They're back Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. They'll be working on the Farm Bill, also a judicial nomination with votes on that later in the day. You can see the Senate live on C-SPAN 2.
nays are 323. The motion is not adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from South Dakota rise?
Madam Speaker, I would like to ask for unanimous consent to be removed as a co-sponsor of H.R. 2942.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Agriculture be discharged from further consideration of S. 3261 and ask for its immediate consideration in the House.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Senate 3261, an act to allow the Chief of the Forest Service to award certain contracts for large air tankers.
Is there objection to the consideration of the bill? Without objection, the bill is read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Gentleman, for what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania rise?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks on the bill just considered.
Without objection.
Thank you. Also, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to meet at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, June 12, 2012. And when the House adjourns on that day, it adjourns to meet at 10 a.m. on Friday, June 15, 2012. When the House adjourns on that day, it adjourns to meet at 2 p.m. on Monday, June 18, 2012.
Without objection, so ordered.
Chair will now entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. Does the gentleman from Arkansas rise? Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, this body took up H.R. 3541, the Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act, which would prohibit abortion on the basis of an unborn baby's gender. Many advanced nations around the world already have laws restricting sex selection abortions. The United States of America should not allow abortions to be performed to select an unborn child's sex. Recognizing the importance of all life, I voted in favor of the bill and had high hopes it could be signed into law. Sadly, the measure failed to reach the majority vote needed for passage. As unbelievable as it may sound, some members of Congress were unwilling to vote to restrict abortions based on sex. Aborting a baby based upon its gender undermines one of our nation's founding principles that all human beings are created equal. Every representative, every physician, every American needs to be reminded that at the center of our struggle is the protection of all human life. We cannot live in a nation where some human life is valued and other life is not. All life has value, and the casual taking of life is morally wrong. Let us join together to pray for the protection of the unborn. The intersection of prayer and action can produce amazing results. Through prayer and perseverance, we can accomplish our goals, and innocent human life can be protected. Yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Maryland rise? The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of the most pressing legislative items were nowhere to be found on the floor this week. We had an opportunity to make headway on critical legislation. Unfortunately, the leadership have provided no action, not solutions, not action, only obstruction and delay. First, student loan interest rates will double on July 1st if we do nothing, and we have done nothing. Secondly, after losing 28,000 construction jobs last month, Congress still has not passed a highway bill, notwithstanding the fact that the Senate passed a bill with 75% of its members in support, half of the Republican conference in support. but it's nowhere on this floor as construction jobs languish and people look for work. Speaker Boehner is now saying we might have to wait until November, even though it would create thousands of construction jobs. It seems to be my way or no highway. Third, we're headed for a fiscal cliff if Congress can't achieve a serious deficit reduction this year. And we've seen an appropriation bill this week that break the budget agreement. This has been another wasted week by a do-nothing Congress, and we're about to begin a week-long recess once again. Congress could do better. Congress must do better. Americans expect Congress to do better. It ought to take action now, not delay until it's too late. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas arise? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Speaker, we can do better. And as we work to ensure the tranquility of this great land,